Welcome to my review of 8 Dragons. And this was one of those really fucking shitty games. This was in my Playing with Shit series. But this is my first time adding commentary to a video on it. And, this game was so shitty that I just said, fuck it. After I purchased it for like $2, I said, fuck it. I just set it down to the easiest setting. Just to get it on the kill list and be done with it. Because it was such a shitty fucking game. It plays like absolute shit. The only thing I could compare it to is it probably even plays worse than the Commodore 64 version of Double Dragon, which is a horrible fucking port of the original arcade game. And this manages to play even worse than that. And I did try several characters. I tried adjusting various settings like the game speed and things. And it's insane. If you adjust the game speed, it pretty much, if you put it at the slowest, the whole game runs like it's in slow motion, which doesn't even really make sense. It's like the settings don't really even make sense, but the game just plays like shit. And it's hard to describe unless you actually play the game. But the enemies pretty much are always sandwiching you, so you always have enemies on either side of you pretty much, and you don't really have any crowd control moves that are reliable. So you often just get fucked, you know what I mean? You don't really have much that you can do about it, as far as I could tell. The controls are just really spastic, and it's kind of hard to explain. I haven't played this in a little while, so I don't remember exactly what was so broken about the controls, but I can tell you that it had some of the worst control I've ever played in any beat-em-up, and that's comparing it to old computer ports of games that didn't have any quality control, real shitty games. You know, if you think the NES has shitty games, well, computers have some really bad fucking games, some of the old computers, and this kind of felt like it was on par with some of the shitty old computer games that I played on the Commodore 64. So the gameplay is really shit. There's not a lot of enemy variety on top of that. Not that it would make the game any better, because it just plays at the core. The game just plays like absolute shit. It has cheap bosses like this that just shoot you off screen and then they hang out off screen. So, if you enjoy that kind of gameplay, then that's definitely there. Shitty final boss fight, very short game, like I said. The game is so fucking ridiculous that when you walk backwards, as you can see, the character just walks backwards. He doesn't even turn in the direction that you press. So it's very hard to actually turn to face the enemies. It had some kind of very awkward control that didn't make any sense. Anyone who's played beat-em-ups, you would just feel that the controls are very broken. The hit detection was shitty from what I remember. I just remember the game playing like absolute shit. And it's hard for me to remember exactly why, because, like I said, I played this, it was probably a few weeks ago now, and I just remember it played like absolute shit. But I figured I would at least put out a review on the game and just, more of a warning not to, it's not even worth $2. I would not recommend picking this up at all. But I will show some of the shittiness here. But it's going to be hard for it to come through, though, because, until you actually play the game, then you'll understand. Especially if you've played any other beat-em-up. There's a good chance that any beat-em-up that you would have played would be much, much better than this. It may not look that bad, but when you play the game, you'll kind of understand. You see the characters, how they follow exact movement that you move. It's like they're cloning your movement. It's really fucking cheap. It feels like real shitty. Like the characters can't even move independently. Like they have to be tied into the inputs of your character, which is a very weird way to make your enemies. This is not how good beat-em-ups behave. But of course, there's that, and then there's just the hit detection and how bad the game plays. There's not really any reliable crowd control techniques. If I remember right, even when you're comboing enemies, I think they randomly break out of it and just hit you sometimes. It doesn't even follow the basic rules. It's just a complete piece of shit. But I don't remember all the problems I had with it, just that I thought it was one of the worst playing beat-em-ups that I played, which is definitely saying something. The shitty port of Double Dragon for the Sega Genesis by Ballistix was a pretty damn shitty port of the game, the original arcade game, Double Dragon. But even that, It had the issue where the enemies will kind of mirror your movement exactly, which was really cheap feeling. But even that plays way better than this shit. And that was a bad port. Like I said, this is on par with like something on the Commodore 64, a bad Commodore 64 beat 'em up like the Double Dragon port. I think even that was better than this. And that was a shitty game. So, this is the final boss. So, this is going to be the climax. So, very exciting fight here against this bald sack of shit. Very exciting. And you will get a reward after you defeat this guy. So, that's cool. Your reward is that you get to shut this fucking game off and you don't ever have to play it again. That was my reward. I was good with playing it on the easiest setting and just fucking being done with the game. I think it only took a few minutes to beat it on the easiest setting. I don't know, maybe under 20 minutes. The game was really short. But yeah, that was about it. I did not want to play this game any longer than I had to. For me, this game is like a 2 out of 10. And that might be being generous, but the only reason I don't give it a 1 is because it is playable if you exploit it. But I don't think you would want to. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.